Good morning, everyone. It is July 30th, and it's time for our summer garden tour.
Back by popular demand.
That's right. So we are July 30th. Again, we are in the south. It is hot.
It is hot.
We went through a drought for a little bit in June where we had several weeks with no rain at all and temperatures in the mid to high 90s. And now we have had almost constant rain for the last month since July started or so.
Yeah, and we've had a couple of like flood warnings and things. Not here because we're at like upper areas like here, but other areas have definitely been flooded.
So we thought we'd give another garden tour and tell you what's been going on. So I'm going to start with Anna.
Okay.
Here we go.
All right. So.
Hold on.
All right. So here's our Mikawa Yatsubusa Japanese maple. It's put on quite a bit of growth right here.
I mean, look at that.
I know, right? So you were saying earlier that maybe an air layer might happen in our future.
Right. So I was thinking that maybe here, right, that branch, just shake that branch a whole bunch.
This one.
Maybe that branch could become an air layer. Don't shake it off.
Don't damage it.
So it's gotten a little bit more than a foot of growth there, though, I think due to all the rain.
Well, and it's nice and asymmetrical right now. This might be one of those things where we look at it when in the winter time to see the shape, because basically it creates this big, just like moppy solidness with the leaves. So I think in the winter time we might be able to take a better look at it and look at the shape.
But it is doing extremely well. So a lot of our trees that were already established seems to do really well, though we did actually lose some that we'll show you later in the video.
I will say with this that it is covering all of the intricate, like kind of like curvy growth on the inside, which is a good thing because down in here somewhere was where a tree lopped off the leader. And that's how we got this originally for a nice hefty discount, is because the leader was chopped off, but you would never know right now.
Right.
Okay.
All right, let's move on. Let's see here. What are these little things?
We have some coleus and some Joseph's coat.
Joseph's coat, yeah.
Coat. And so these are annuals. Look at us being fancy with annuals. So
these are gifted to us by my sister.
Yeah. So these are really pretty. It's nice to have some annuals. The corbels, this one's not doing so well.
Corbel's not doing as well. They get a little bit more sun here than they should.
Yeah.
And you'll notice some of the hostas that were here have been moved. The only hosta is remaining is that orange marmalade in the back. And it's doing okay. Looks like a slug got to it, but it's doing okay otherwise.
It could just be heat melt.
Well, that's a tree of Lebanon next to you.
Yes, this is new this year, and it is not dead.
Now, it did have water going to it, though. So during the drought we had here, let me see if I can show. So here's like some of the pipe there. So we have drip water going to everything, or bubblers. You can see it just underneath there. So we just heard thunder. Now I think it's starting to rain. Oh, so this is, if anybody's wondering why we've been taking a while, it's because it keeps raining.
Yeah, well, it was hot and droughty, and we didn't want to go outside. And then it was rain and humid, and it was terrible. Anyway, we're suffering through the humidity for you.
Back behind you, let's see here. Up here is Tamukiyama.
Tamukiyama, which we had a Sherman's Northlight planted like right here in this kind of blank-ish looking space.
Yeah.
It was just getting way too crowded. It was getting way too, we planted it way too close to the retaining wall, not really retaining wall, planter bed wall, and the Mikawa. And the idea with the Tamukiyama is that it would spill over, and it's doing that, but it was just way too crowded with the Sherman's Northlight, which I'll show you one over here in a second.
Right, well, let's go ahead and look at those. So this is a Sherman Northlight, which is a metasequoia or a dawn redwood. It's a dwarf variety.
Right, so these grew way faster than we thought they would, even though they're a dwarf variety. Hence the ginkgos planted way too close to this Sherman's Northlight. But I really want to highlight this right now, this time of year, because the summer is when these really shine. They are beautiful. They are this cool, like yellowish, bluish, soft, really pretty color.
Let me see if I can actually show it.
And they are not that attractive in the spring. They are really late to leaf out. So, and when everything else is very beautiful and colorful in the spring, these are kind of looking a little scraggly still. So these are gorgeous in the summertime, and that's nice to have something that looks healthy and beautiful in the summer when maybe some of our other beautiful spring things are more in the decline and taking a back seat. So
yeah, but they're definitely bigger than we thought they would get this quick. We knew eventually.
Yeah.
We just didn't know eventually would happen in like 2 years. All right, here, let's trade.
Okay.
So I can show off the ginkgos.
Okay.
So these are two ginkgos that we have here.
Oh, I have to come up here so you can actually see that there's one back here.
So this is a American ginkgo, not American, but as in a singular American ginkgo. And so it's doing extremely well. And then this front one is a troll ginkgo, which I'm not convinced that it's not just the rootstock now. It almost died back a couple years ago or a year ago. I think it was a couple years. And this is a lot of growth for a troll. Trolls normally are very, very, very slow growing. So we may just have a ginkgo here that we're going to have to move.
Well, and it's getting a bit more crowded
Yeah, it's
than we
getting crowded as
expected,
well.
which we
Well,
were trying to space things nicely, and we still failed.
even this ginkgo here, the American, we had it spaced pretty well from the Sherman's Northlight, and it has just grown that much in that little bit of time. And we did have here some conifers that we moved because there's getting too much water here, which is why the metasequoia are doing so well. They're dawn redwoods. They love water. You cannot overwater them. And the same goes for a bald cypress.
And then we've got 3 right here.
And these do get confused often. Metasequoia in general gets confused often with a bald cypress, which we have one over there. We'll get to it in just a second. But just so you know, Metasequoia is slightly longer leaf. They have a different leaf pattern where they're even with each other rather than alternating. But anyway, let's see here. So here's a blue star. So this blue star has been in here, I think 2 years now.
Maybe even longer.
And it's really starting to come into its own. So these really start to come into their own after a few years. They have seed pods on it. I don't know if you can see these.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Let me see. Oh, they look like green beans.
They do look like green beans. So they have seed pods on them. I'm assuming that's what these are. Otherwise, I'm completely confused. But I think they're seed pods.
Yeah.
So they may make baby blue stars everywhere. We'll find out.
Yeah, my mom says
there are some blue stars that are native to the south. So it's possible to have native. These are not the native variety for us. This is another Mikau Yatsubusa. It doesn't have as much growth as the other one, which is crazy. But this one is still getting about 6 to 8 inches growth. And normally Mikau, if you even get 6 inches of growth, is really good.
They must like it here.
Other thing to note here, even though we did have water going to these, last year this had a lot of burning to it. And this year it's acclimated more. So we say Japanese maples acclimate to their environment. If they can tolerate full sun, they'll start to show less and less burning. So this time you can see a whole bunch less burning than what we had last year, which is good. That's what it should be doing. Though we'll probably move this at the end of this fall. We'll probably move this somewhere else because this is not its final spot.
Right.
It's just a spot we put it. So this, oh no, I've already forgot, Fire Glow.
Fire Glow.
This is really exciting. So this is a Fire Glow Japanese maple, and it is actually red.
Yeah, look at that.
This is really, really exciting. That is
Look.
actually red. So this is
In the summer.
This is the most red for us. We are in a hot, humid environment. Temperatures in mid-90s to upper 90s earlier. And it has continued to stay red. It does have some bronzing, but compare it to back here, that is a, what is that?
Not a Tombley's, it's a Skeeter's broom.
Skeeter's broom.
Skeeter's broom, which is supposed to be red, and it is red in the spring, but not right now.
It's, yeah, so that's what happens to a lot of our reds, is they tend to go to this bronzy or green color. I'm colorblind, y'all. But this guy, I can even see that this guy is super red. And we're excited. It does also have the sun. If the sun is on that side, the sun comes in, glows through it, hence the Fire Glow. And that's where a lot of...
And that's partly why we planted it in this particular location, because the sun shoots this way and it illuminates it from behind, and it's really pretty.
Yeah.
Not right now, though, because this is not the right time of year or day for that.
Okay, continuing on. We have this weeping bald cypress. This is, I believe, a waterfall variety. So we have a couple things. So we have drip going
Falling
to
waters?
it. Falling waters, that's it. So we have drip going to it, and we have the condensation from our air conditioning coming to it as well.
And you can see the difference here in the leaf from the bald cypress versus the Metasequoia.
Well, here, this is really easy to show. So when I said that alternate, so see, these leaves are alternating. They're not coming out at the same spot. They're coming out.
And they're much thinner, but this is bald in the winter as well as the Metasequoia.
And it does have seeds as well. It's growing little pods.
Oh, neat, look at those. Yay. And then over here are 3 little Sengokakus that we have planted, well, not little, but 3 Sengokakus that we have up here at the top of the ridge. And our Miss Grace, also a Metasequoia, she is not doing well, but she kind of started out that way when we bought her on clearance, but getting worse.
Miss Grace, if you're not familiar with Miss Grace, it's known as being finicky. In some areas of the U.S., Miss Grace can do really well, but in a lot of areas of the U.S., Miss Grace is finicky, doesn't like to grow, and does pretty much this. So we got the sun clearance. We knew it was a chance for the Miss Grace, but
I mean, the top was already dead when we bought it. So that's partly not our fault, but also mostly our fault. There you go.
so anyway, all right, continuing on.
Yeah.
Let's see here. We have the Skeeter's broom here. So this is a Skeeter's broom. In some areas of the U.S., this is going to stay super red throughout the whole summer. Like especially if you're in the New England area or just zone 6, maybe even 5.
And actually in there, you can kind of see where the sun hits it, it's green, and then where it shades itself out, it's a little bit more maroon purple still.
And we do have some of these in the backyard that will show that are a little bit more red.
And then broom, it's a broom because it's got these little nubs.
Yeah,
Like
nubs.
right there, that little nubby nub. That's how you can tell it's a broom.
Let's see here. So it's starting to get crowded here really quick.
Yeah.
This is a Koro, Japanese white pine. I believe it's Japanese white pine. Koru.
Koru.
And it's doing really well. So it is our most blue thing that we have here. It does extremely well for staying blue in southern environments. And this is exactly how it should look. It will eventually get pretty big, and that's okay. We'll keep on going. Here's another American ginkgo. And
Oh, wow,
behind
much
it are
bigger.
more of the blue stars.
I'm surprised I'm not down here all that often, so that's gotten much
It has
bigger.
gotten way big. It was
Yeah.
not this size before. It is growing in every single direction.
I like the
There's
texture
even
that we
now
have
there's
of-
a thorn. I see it.
Yeah, I like the
potato
texture
vine.
that we have of the blue star, kind of soft, wispy behind the ginkgo. That's nice.
Yeah.
Good job.
It's like we intentionally did it. This is the Sherman's Northlight that's just growing in like crazy.
So the biggest we've seen one of these is around maybe like 6 foot by 6 foot at a very established home garden.
Yeah, so we saw one. I mean, it was about that tall. I'm not quite 6 feet, y'all. I'm actually not even close.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's showing growth everywhere. It's growing right now. It's still pushing out right now. But we have been getting, like I said, a lot of rain. You can tell there's rainwater all over it.
Yeah,
Here, it's kind of pretty.
Probably love
If
it.
you want to see the little droplets on it.
Oh, droplets, little sparkly raindrops.
Okay, so now it's game plan time. We need to tell you what we're going to do with this garden or this front garden area.
Oh, this particular zone.
This
of the
particular
zone.
area right here.
Okay. What are we doing?
So this is what we talked about. So it's July 30th. It's a little bit late for us to start air layers, which we talked about maybe being able to do an air layer on the Mikawa back there. Other ones that are up on the chopping block for air layers is this acanthifolium. So this is an acanthifolium Japanese maple, also known as dancing peacock. It has wonderful fall colors. It is doing really, really well. It's growing everywhere. However, some of these things don't need to be here. So these branches at the bottom are just impeding on everything else.
It's
like
just getting
even
really
this guy
crowded
here.
at the bottom. You're
We
saying.
could just air layer off all of these bottom branches and leave it basically here and going up, and let this be the area that you see. Because already from the front, the Sherman's Northlight is blocking the majority of seeing visually this acanthifolium. And this Tamukiyama that's here, that's also grown tremendously well, is blocking.
Yeah, we
most
used
of
to
the
be able to walk
acanthifolium.
through here no problem, and now we have all these like pew that happen.
So our thought is to just air layer off these and be able to hopefully get more acanthifolium from them. But that way it just brings it more up. So when we're saying, I mean,
Look at these cool leaf shapes. That's super fun.
a lot of these Japanese maples will prune themselves, where they'll be, if a branch, as I sneak by here.
All right, I'm coming through.
Okay, so
God.
let me just say,
Okay.
these branches normally, if they're not getting enough sun, they're going to prune themselves out, and that's what happens to them. So there's a few here that might actually go if they're not getting enough sun. However, even without that, we'd rather air layer them off. And
Here,
just
let me
get it
look at
done.
this through here. So this used
Okay.
to be able to walk through here, and I'm gonna do it. Let me come through and turn around.
Okay.
Well, I was gonna turn around and look back
Okay,
that
you
way.
didn't
so
look back that
All right, I
way.
gotta
Okay,
turn.
okay.
All right.
Oh, here's a ghost fern, by the way.
Ghost fern. Loves it here too.
It's starting to look more of its.
All right, so here's that acanthifolium. Also some weeds, ignore those. So yeah, just a little bit. We were like, let's just prune it up more of like a park-shaped tree where you look at all that extra stuff at the bottom there. That all could go like that and that. Okay. What were you
Okay.
saying?
I was gonna say this ghost fern here.
Uh-huh.
So it's starting to show more of its like summer stuff. The more it gets towards the fall, the worse it starts to look for us.
Oh, and they kind of die back. The ghost ferns die back. The autumn ferns stick around.
But it's doing extremely well. Like here's some other parts of it, and this is
Yeah,
like
that
newer
makes me
leaves.
happy. Yay.
Okay. Uh, purple ghost. Talking about what's on the chopping block for air layers is the purple ghost. So some of these branches, so this branch kind of just took off. We have another one over here, and there's one in the back too, which I doubt I can really shake it and you can see it, but there's a whole one in the back here too. We could probably air layer off all of those and still have a perfectly fine looking tree. A lot of these, especially this bottom one here, this whole branch, that whole branch really just took off. It's not really attractive. So it's on the chopping
I
block.
mean, overall, it's a nicely shaped tree as is, but it was one of those where it just went crazy and shot off some random shoot in the spring. And so
Yeah, it just wants to grow, but it's also growing upwards. I mean, it's way taller than even when we moved it here. So really happy with it. Let's just bring that up so you can actually see through it. There's also, this is the Oculus draconis. Right now the leaves are a little bit closed up. Every time it rains, they kind of close. And they'll open back up after it hasn't rained for a minute.
But that's what it does.
So these are kind of starting to open though, if you want to come see these.
Well, and also look how bright white. This is another thing, just like the Sherman's North Light. This is one of those things that is beautiful in the summer and a little scraggly looking all the other times of the year.
Right.
But they are a little closed right now due to the rain.
Well, and I should note, so we've had so much rain, we had to put this pipe in here.
So this thing was leaning. I was looking at it one day and I was like, is that leaning? And it is. So the ground is so soft that it's leaning, so we had to support it again. Here's this nice variegated pine needle right here that you can see. Oculus draconis is called this because when you look straight down, it looks like a dragon's eye, like this.
Well, and this is probably our Oculus draconis that's doing the absolute best. Like, it's doing great. It's growing, I don't know, it looks like about a foot a year or so. It's not a tremendously fast grower, which is nice for where we have it. And it's definitely a showstopper.
Yeah, also, again, just like the flame Japanese maple, what's that one called?
Fire
glow, just like the fire glow. The sun comes from this way and shines through it, and it's just glowing as well. So good positioning on our part.
All right, here, let's trade.
Okay. All right, so moving on past the purple ghost, which is very, I guess, make the point, is very green at this time of year, but super amazing in the spring. Like beautiful purple popsicle color in the spring. Right now, green, but when you get close, it is interesting. The leaf shape is kind of like crinkly, and it's kind of got this variegation, this reticulation in the leaf.
It still has the reticulation that it's known for. It's just not purple anymore.
Oh yeah. Oh, here's a better angle of that one that we want to air layer off. Look at that way down there. See that one
that bottom
shooting
branch
way off the bottom? That doesn't need to be, we can take that off for sure. Okay. So coming back around this way, we've already talked about some of these going through this way, but this is our thunderhead. And it was maybe this big when we bought it.
It was tiny.
It was so tiny. It was
So this is the one we're talking about, guys, is this thunderhead pine.
Right here.
And this is a Japanese black pine or Japanese red pine. I think it's a black pine. And it is growing.
It is. And we knew we've seen ones that are like huge mounds. So we're going to be in trouble. Again, that's a good reason why to prune this one up. Well, air layer this one up and air layer this one up.
Yeah.
And so it'll give more room here. Moving on to another Japanese maple is our summer gold. And this one is one that we moved this spring. It seems to really like it here. It's doing quite well compared to the Jordan Japanese maple, which we'll show you over there in a second. That Jordan, we also moved them both and planted them both at the same time. The Jordan was an air layer, whereas this was just a tree that we had purchased, and it was just in the backyard for several years. And we decided...
Let me show the leaves. So there's no water going to this, guys.
Yeah, so everything else in this bed, when we made this bed, we had drip irrigation. And since this was a new addition, it doesn't have any drip irrigation. So when we hit the drought, we were coming over here and manually watering it a little bit, but a little neglectful.
Well, and some of the leaves show some little bit of scorching of that light color you see in the leaves right there.
Right there.
But it's very, 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 very minimal. Whereas over on the Jordan, which if we go past the Austrian pine.
Yep. So here's this Jordan.
Just doing fine. Same
time. You can see here that it's less leafy. It's lost a bunch of its leaves. It's struggling a little bit more. We didn't have drip irrigation going to this, but honestly, we didn't really use the drip irrigation, but like maybe twice or 3 times during the drought, once we realized we were in a drought anyway. But if you come over here, down here, you can see this Jordan is known for being a chartreuse green, and so is summer gold. Jordan's a bit more chartreuse in the spring than summer gold, but this right here is actually scorch and
Yeah,
burning.
that's sun
So
damage.
that's sun. So that lighter creamy color is more sun damage, and I think next year it won't have as much sun damage. It'll
Right.
acclimate.
So we're talking about acclimation. So the longer it's here, the more it'll acclimate. And so it should get used to this, but it may take a few years. There are some people who say Jordan will stay more yellow in full sun, and we have not found that to be the case. For us, it just burned and nearly died.
Well, and when we were talking about air layering, those other Japanese maples over there, the purple ghost and the contifolium, this is an air layer. This whole tree was a branch off of another Jordan in the backyard. So I'm standing quite next to it. So I'm 5'6", and this is pretty much the size it was when we did this.
Right.
And it worked out.
It hasn't put on much growth this year.
It has not.
Mostly because it's an air layer. Give
Right,
it a year and it'll start
But you
growing
can have a decently sized tree with an air layer, and it goes pretty well.
Here is the Metasequoia Gold Rush Dawn Redwood, which is Dawn Redwood.
Yep.
It is not as yellow as like the Summer Gold.
Right. And so I want to compare if you can get over here.
I will try to back way up.
Here, I'll stand in here so you can kind of get the sense of scale. Here we go. So this Metasequoia glyptostrobides Gold Rush Dawn Redwood, we have another one in the backyard. It's a little bit more golden than this because I think it's in a bit more sun. But you can see the Summer Gold is a bit more golden chartreuse, bright yellow than this is in this condition.
Right. And it's big. It's supposed to get big, and so that was one of the more anchoring trees we put down. And it's doing extremely well. I don't even know if we have drip going to it.
I don't remember.
I don't know if we do. Here's a Reusin.
Yeah.
So we never get over this guy. Here's the Reusin. We moved to mirror this year.
Yeah, so we decided that Reusin is a nice drippy, weepy Japanese maple. It's not the only one that has a non-lace leaf dripping waterfall type habit. There are a few other ones now, but we thought this is a nice spot for it because here's this hill, and hopefully it can kind of come and drip down the hill, and it'd be pretty.
Yeah. So, and you can see some of it is bald, and some of it is doing fine.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have any water going to it.
It looks like it's struggling just a little bit. But again, this is when we moved this spring along with the Summer Gold and the Jordan. So.
And then behind it here, we'll show this view. So this is all of our deodars. We do have our little planting bed there for some tomatoes.
Yeah, tomatoes. They are not doing well. We are terrible.
Well, we didn't give them any good soil.
No, I just dug up our native clay soil and chucked it in there. So it didn't fertilize. We neglected it.
We got some tomatoes out of it. And then this is a larger Sengokaku that has now been there. It's for a little while.
And this is just a Nandina that was here. I keep chopping it back. It keeps coming back. Seems like the more you chop them down, the more it's like, yay, and puts out growth. So this is Sengokaku. I need to move this tag. It's getting a little tight. Yeah, that one's from Costco. They were really affordable. And our deodar, which we need to get some vines are growing in.
And all of these are just regular deodars. We lost the deodar that was in this area, so we planted a new one last year.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit smaller than the others.
Yeah, this one's a little smaller. And the one in the background isn't getting as much sun, so it's not nearly as large as these other ones.
Right.
It seemed like some of the deodars, some were just more hardy trees to begin with.
Well, and this side, just so they know, everybody watching, so this area here gets about 9 to 10 hours of sun every day, direct sun, unfiltered sun, which is why we also put the tomatoes over here, because it's getting a lot of sun. And so the deodars also like it here. And this is why we don't have many Japanese maples here, because it gets a fair amount of sun here. Mm-hmm. And the Japanese maples also won't do anything for blocking neighbors or anything during the winter, whereas the deodars.
Well, let me show you this new planter bed, which we planted newly this spring.
Okay.
And the reason why this kind of happened is because it was getting so crowded over there, or we anticipated that it was going to get crowded, and it is. And also we have this emerald lace Japanese maple, which it's this size in like the matter of like 3 years. It is bonkers. So this we bought, there's some spider webs, gross. This we purchased small, and it kind of did this, it felt like overnight. Which is crazy. The growth rate on emerald lace is
and
insane.
Once again, we tilted it back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
So we planted it,
like
and
this.
then every year we'd tilt it and tilt it so that it grows upwards, because it wants to grow horizontally.
Yes, so we encouraged it kind of, and then when we planted it this way, we finally decided its final.
Here, let me try to
Get a
show
nice,
other angles of this thing.
but it has such a pretty delicate, lacy leaf. It's straight up green, emeralds. Emerald is in the name. And it's just different than, say, Viridis or waterfall Japanese maples.
And there's no drips water going to this watering bed at all, this planter bed. So it's really nice kind of blue-green color. You could see even here it has new growth happening right now. So it's doing really, really well, whereas other ones are not.
And you
Here,
can see that even it's dripping down onto the ground, which we might need to.
Well, it was doing that when we planted
Yeah,
it,
I know.
but yeah.
Yep.
All right, you want to trade for a second?
Sure.
Because I got to talk about the one we lost.
Oh, okay, it's sad.
Okay. All right, guys. So, RIP, this guy. So this was a Gimborn's Ideal.
Which
I don't know if y'all remember.
Yeah, that we have the two in the backyard, and we were so excited to have another one in the front yard because they stay nice and columnar. And
so we're gonna have to go by Byron and get another. So what happened here? This one had been in the front planter bed, and we didn't know that the front planter bed was getting too much water in that bottom level, and it was. And so I dug up all the Japanese pines because we had some other pines that just kicked it. So eastern white pines all died.
So we were like, oh, we better get these guys out of here.
So, and when I pulled this out, its root ball was just tiny. It had already decayed a good bit. And so I thought that there's a chance it might live, but there isn't much of a chance. So this guy died. The hardest time you have is right after it pushes out growth typically. And right after it pushed out growth, we got into the high 90 temperatures for, I think, a couple weeks. And that just did it in. We tried watering it. We tried keeping it healthy. You could see the weeds like it just fine.
Yeah.
But it died.
No.
So that's really sad. This is a really special Japanese white pine that we really wanted to keep
and what's
do
nice
well.
about it is it stays nice and columnar. So you can have it, it's really good architecturally near a building or like kind of crowded in there with some other things because it stays nice and tight and narrow.
Other things that could have caused this as well, I mean, there could have been a vole that came through and just ate the roots.
I haven't seen any voles.
Definitely be other things that caused this, but just want to let you know, it's sad. Sorry, I have to check this. We have, there we go. Okay, we have a jointer coming, and so you're going to see me checking my phone every now and then because it's exciting for woodworking. Why I'm in this attire and I have on steel-toe shoes is because we have this 650-pound tool coming just in a little bit. I'm waiting for the delivery. It's going to come in a huge truck, and then that will be a different video showing you guys what we're up to in woodworking and what we're up to doing with our house. We have lots of projects. We're putting in new DIY windows, fixed windows. It's going to be really, really neat. I'm excited to share that. We have doors to make. We have a dining table to make. We have
workbenches.
Workbenches first, that's right, workbenches. So we have a lot of projects coming up that I'm really excited to share. It has very little to do with the plantings, but it's what we're doing. This is the channel is called Building Modern, right? So we're going to try to build some modern stuff. Maybe even a new front door. I'm not sure. Anna kind of likes it, but I don't know.
I kind of like our front door up there. The whole deck is all busted and dangerous.
We did not make that front door.
It's got diagonal stuff.
I don't know if I would have chosen it. Oh yeah, and the whole
deck. The whole deck.
Yeah, okay. If you guys want to stick around long enough, eventually we're going to get to replacing our entire front stairs to our house. I guess that's landscaping wise, because it really needs to be done. Yeah,
other projects is this hole in the ground that we're slowly digging out right here. You can't see it very
That's going to be a parking pad.
That's going to be a parking pad. And then we need to have like a nicer walkway up to this other door because right now it's just dirt. Okay, back to this.
So so this doesn't have drip water going to it. We have been watering this area with just a hose. Every few days, every 4 days.
During the drought. Now we're certainly not.
Now we're not. Yeah, it's been raining like crazy. So this is the Kusa, dogwood Kusa wolf eyes. And it's in probably a little bit too much sun, but you can see what it's doing in this much sun. So it's probably about 8 hours of sun here. It does have a tiny bit of new growth there. And a tiny bit down here, and a tiny bit down there.
Yeah, okay.
So it's doing happy. It's okay. We'll show you the other one in the back that kind of almost had issues. Let's see here. Here is the smoke bush. And when you're talking about like sun damage, that's definitely sun damage.
You see.
So this
gets way bigger.
The color you wish it stayed all year, and I think it does in certain shade situations.
Oh, and then over here some sun damage.
Yeah, and these are weeds.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to tolerate full sun, and
wow, look how like chartreuse and pretty that is.
Yeah, that's new growth.
New growth versus not so great. All right, and then who's this over here?
This is a Fukuzumi. So happily, this Fukuzumi is doing pretty well. I am colorblind, so I'm not sure if these are green or brown here. I'm guessing they're green because they're not falling out.
They're kind of yellowish, but not in the brown kind of way that they're threatening to.
I will take it for now.
So you can see the different variation in, like, there's some frosty blue in there, green, and a little bit of slightly concerning turning yellow-ish, but not dead yellow yet. So
they could just be, those are the needles that might fall off later. Because it does, let go of the old needles every year. So I'm excited that this is doing okay. It grew, I don't know, about a few inches this year.
And
with
it's
it being
positioned
moved,
right here at the corner.
yeah, so it's going to grow like that.
Hopefully not into the power lines.
It may grow in the power line, but it's our power line.
So
and this bottom power line isn't even power.
All right, well, speaking of running into the power lines up there, we have this Japanese maple. Looks like it's under the power lines. It's really not. But it's too close to the Sherman's North Light. This is the one we transplanted this spring as well. It used to be bigger than the other ones, but now the other ones have taken off.
Well, and this hasn't been, so that down there, it just basically collects water where those other ones are. This one is on a hill and it's not collecting as much water. But the fact that it's alive, it's doing great.
Yes, that's a win. That we didn't kill it.
I don't know if you remember, here, I'll come on this side. I don't know if you remember, but when I moved this, I found out that the roots go in all directions. This guy had roots going at least 4 or 5 feet out. I went as far as I could.
And a big giant taproot too, right?
Oh yeah, it had a huge taproot that looked like a giant carrot. And then like these roots going out like 4 or 5 feet before I even got to feeder roots. So I had to cut those as far as I could. And I'm just glad that it's alive.
And then when we planted it, we kind of made some channels and buried them down throughout here.
Yeah, there's like a root coming this way. I know they're in there somewhere. So I'm just happy it's alive. This Whatnong, it was doing really, really well. And then during that drought, even with us watering it, it just got burned. Here, you can come see some of these. I mean, you can just see
And this is another tree that isn't as pretty in the spring, and it was prettier in the early summer, and now it's looking a little tough again.
So this is the Whatnong, but you can see here, it's got brand new growth. So since we've been getting all the rain, it has been making a comeback. So I think it's letting go of all of its spent leaves that just got too sunburned,
and this is one of those that is kind of almost like a rainbow, where it's kind of simultaneously has like greens and reds and things in kind of yellowish in a really pretty way in the summer. In the spring, I was looking at it compared to everybody else, and I was like, wow, maybe we shouldn't have put that up front because it's not so pretty. But then in the spring, it became nice and pretty. What are you doing over there?
I found some eggs of some sort.
Okay.
I just decided to
So we will probably need to move this though, because it's closer.
This guy's probably going to move back to about here.
Which is then going to be actually under the power line.
Given its growth rate, we just need to move it. By the way, there's a big old hornet over here, just so you're careful about it.
Let's leave then.
Oh, well, he seems nice if you want to come film him from a distance.
Hornet.
Right there.
Oh, wow. Okay. Where are you? Oh, there.
Right there.
Well, bye.
Okay, Anna, where are we going?
We are going to our driveway, backtracking a little bit. So that was that side of the driveway for the planter bed. And this side, we have our aisle of Sky Tower ginkgos, which by description, Sky Tower, they should be shooting more straight up vertically with minimal branching out, so they don't intrude upon the driveway.
Right, and we should say this one right here, it had a branch fall down on it that took off its side.
From above, so it sheared off.
I'm happy the branch isn't up there anymore, but it's at least it didn't take out more.
And it also kind of landed on this camellia, and you used some electrical tape, and it's not wilting, so I think that's working.
Yeah, there's some electrical tape that I put on it.
So that's great.
All right.
So basically, line of ginkgos, line of camellias.
So
and they're not blooming, so I don't think I need to mention who they are.
Well, I'm going to mention some of them, like this guy here. This is actually a little gem.
Not a camellia.
So that's a little gem magnolia.
Yes.
And it did put out some growth. I think it still has some new growth going on up top, which is really nice. And we put this here for blocking for neighbors, and all these things are for blocking and things like that. But the camellias also have flowers during the winter, so it's really nice.
Living fence.
And the camellias will get quite tall. I mean, we're talking like 12 to 16 feet tall, while the ginkgos will get anywhere from 15 to 30 feet tall.
I mean, you can always prune them. But so this is Frank Hauser, beautiful reticulated, well, not reticulated, very like splotchy flowers. Everybody else, it's more important. The spring tour is better for the camellias because they'll have flowers on them. So,
well, here, let's just skip down this way. Let's go to the camellia that didn't do so well. So again, we've been watering these.
Yeah, so these are all pretty healthy. They survive pretty well. This is Betty Sheffield, question mark. This is possibly a seedling of Betty Sheffield from my grandfather. It was the biggest camellia in our yard. We moved it over here because it was over by when we built the shed, behind the shed, and so we moved it.
And the best thing we can say about it is it's alive right now?
It's alive. It's struggling a little bit. I think it'll probably bounce back.
So that one was an air layer.
That was an air layer. Everybody else are from a grower.
But then we have this one dead guy. Let me
but also this ginkgo's being a bit crispy too. Something's going on over here. So this is Adolphi Addison Special, and it bloomed nicely this year. It's very pretty, delicate, small, little stripy, slightly striped pink leaves, flowers. I don't know. It just kicked it. All of a sudden, when we noticed it, it was going downhill. It was already pretty much gone. Now, under here, we have some new growth coming out. I'm sure these vines aren't helping, but this doesn't look to be rootstock. I don't even see a graft.
I doubt most aren't grafts. So something happened.
Something happened where and this is coming out of the ground, below the ground. We do have drip here. I don't know what happened. Why this one out of the whole line of everybody went into decline. And also, like, it's coming back from the bottom here. So they seem to do that. I had one where I dug it up because I wanted to move it. Then I forgot to water it last summer, and the whole top died. But then the shoots were coming out of the bottom.
Right, and this does have a bubbler right at the bottom.
It does.
I doubt we can see it. But
oh, it's right there. It's right here.
Yeah, there's a bubbler. Let me see if I can actually.
Right there.
So there's a bubbler that's putting out water, but we weren't watering them a ton. We were watering them enough. So like that was like maybe once or twice a week.
This has a top. Maybe this is one that also.
This is one that got hit. So it got hit by the neighbors had taken out a tree,
and then it got topped.
And it fell on the. Yeah, so
it's had a rough time.
It's had a rough time, and same for this ginkgo. That same tree took out this ginkgo's leader, and
but
so
this
it's now
getting a little burnt, which is a little weird. This is the most sun.
It's more sun than normal. So because those trees are gone now, it was this big giant tree back there. I don't know if you can see it.
Poplar, big.
It went way up there, and so only one branch hit these things, but it lost this leader. So now we need to, at some point, just put this up like this so that it becomes the new leader. Let's see here. Okay, so what are these?
Tombly's Red Sentinels.
Tombly's Red Sentinel Japanese Maple.
So these are also brooms, like the Skeeter's broom, but different. And they're more compact.
I'm colorblind. How red are these leaves?
They're not. So these are very green right now and a little burnt too.
A little burnt and green.
So you got some brown in here and some missing parts. So these are solidly green right now. Oh, new growth. Super bright red right here.
Oh, okay.
Crazy red, new growth.
Let me try to focus. There you go.
It's happy in this one spot.
And it has a nub.
It has a little nub. So it's not normally that crazy red in the spring, but these are red in the spring, and they go through this cool transition where as they're changing to green, they are kind of green on the surface, and then if you part through them, you can see kind of the maroon. They go to maroon and then this muddy color, and then now they're just green.
Yeah.
Some more camellias.
More camellias back here. They're doing okay.
And here is another Jordan. So this Jordan is in the most shade that we have in our yard. And we put it here because we wanted to brighten up this area. And in the spring, Jordan is brighter and more chartreuse.
Well, and just so they can see, because right now they can see you. This is the Jordan. Back there is the summer gold, just to see, like, so you guys know.
Back there, way back there.
That's the different color of summer gold versus Jordan in July 30th.
I would say comparable amounts of
comparable amounts of sun, yeah.
Sun, yeah.
Comparable amounts of sun. You can just see the difference. Oh, and there's our shed back there.
Yeah, but why we put this here, even though we knew it wasn't going to be as bright as it possibly could be in a tiny bit more sun, we wanted to brighten up this area. And it really does do that job in the spring. And right now it's just it is brighter than the background. The background
well, and here, put your hand underneath one of these Jordan leaves just to show the size of them. Let me see here. I'll try to focus.
And the shape. It's a fun shape. I really like the shape.
It is a really nice Japanese maple. Even if it doesn't stay the yellow, it is a very nice tree. And this is, just so they can see this, I'm going to just pluck this off. But that's mold coming from the trees above. Yeah.
I'll take it off anyway.
That's the mildew mold stuff. Anyway, That comes from the trees that are way up there. Usually you have that when you're near a wooded area, which is what we're next to.
Was this an air layer?
No.
Okay.
This is the one that almost died in too much sun.
Okay, and we moved it.
And we moved it over here
Because it was in way too much.
we had it in full sun, like 10, 12 hours a day, and it almost died. So we moved it over here and it's doing great. Here is another, this is a skeeter's broom.
Oh, this is another skeeter's broom.
I mean, I'm sorry, pixie.
Purple.
This is a pixie Japanese.
Pixie.
Big difference.
Yeah, so we have a couple more pixies in the backyard. Why did we put this here?
So, well, this one we just had lots of pixies, and so we thought we'd just put one over here to have some red.
And
Because you have like the yellow, the red, and then in the background you have more yellow again and different things. And you have the white of the butterflies behind you.
yeah, if this it's red in the spring, not so much right now. If I were to redo that, maybe I would put a fire glow here instead. But that fire glow.
Well, we
needs a
didn't
little bit
have
more
a fire glow.
I know, but
So here's the pixie just to show.
knowing what I would know now,
What it's
maybe
looking like.
fire glow everywhere rather than.
To my eyes, this is all pretty much green, a little bit of burgundy.
Yeah, there's some slight.
Now, but
burgundy.
pixie is really good for fall color sometimes. Sometimes it can just be a vibrant, like
so
crazy
sometimes
red.
You just pick things because you know they're going to be glorious at different times of the year.
And then you have some of these camellias, like here's a camellia behind here. At the very top, it has new growth happening, which is exciting. So we have the camellias are doing well. Even this air layer camellia that we planted back there, I think it was this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's straight back here. This is the air layer.
That's not a debutante. That's something else.
It's doing really well. Like it's alive. I don't see any major loss of leaves. So I call it a success. Oh, and here are our new little guys. What are they? Rhododendrons.
No. Akuba.
No, those are rhododendrons, right?
Oh, these are the rhododendrons.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the Akuba.
Yeah, well, that one was in a pot and it died.
Yeah.
We have other ones that we planted.
So these are rhododendrons, and they have a like super. These are super duper dark, midnight purple flower to them
Yes,
too.
you'll have to wait until I guess next year to actually see them.
They're gonna be super cool.
They're extremely neat. Here's another one right here. So rhododendrons seem to be kind of like hydrangea, where they're the first to start to wilt if they aren't getting enough water.
They'll warn you. Yeah.
So they are the ones that we are getting warnings on of, oh, we need to water everything.
Yeah.
Behind it is an ukigumo Japanese maple.
This ukigumo, along with the second one, were in the very back corner of our property. And the idea with those is that they would be this light white leaf, kind of like butterfly, who's right here too. But they just weren't doing it so much. They were, even in the spring, they had this cool like speckle to them. That's not actually burn. That's like
that's what they should have.
That's what they should have, is this kind of like spray paint looking speckle.
But they are no longer white.
But they're not white. They weren't doing it. So the idea back there would we have this kind of white leafed thing back in the back corner that you'd see. So we decided that a variegated dogwood would do the job better than these. So we moved these and we put some dogwoods there.
Well, and y'all, we have a whole bunch more to go here, but why don't we call it right here, and we'll just come back to you guys tomorrow, because Anna is melting over here. I don't know if you can tell. She's melting.
I think I want melt tomorrow.
It's starting to get hot. We'll come back in the morning.
We've got some like construction noises and some leaf blowers going on. So yeah, we'll come back tomorrow morning when it's a bit cooler.
All right. Tell everybody it's nice to see him.
Nice to see you. See you tomorrow.